Hey, this is Lama Rod. Um, I just wanted to offer this video today. I woke up with a lot of heaviness, a lot of physical heaviness, but mostly a lot of emotional heaviness, a lot of grief, a lot of anger, fatigue, like all of it. And I wanted just to offer something that I hope can meet you where you are, can be some kind of medicine for you. But to begin with, I think it's important for, particularly for those of you who are new to me, who are just joining me on my platform, to kind of have a sense of where I come from, right, in terms of spiritual practice. Um, I was born into and raised in the Black church, right, and particularly the system or the belief and practice of the Black prophetic tradition has been extremely important for me. It has been the motivator that has driven me into real justice work and liberation work at the very beginning of my life. This work led me, of course, into deeper activism. My activism led me into one of my root practices, which is the Tibetan tradition of Buddhism, or Vajrayana Buddhism, or Tantric Buddhism, where I trained seriously and was and earned, right, the title of Lama. And Lama means teacher, right, for those of you who aren't familiar with that. But from there, you know, the lineage gave me permission to reclaim so many of my ancestral practices, right? Including my African ancestral practices, including hoodoo, which is a practice and magic system rooted within the experiences of those of us here in the United States that are descendant of African enslaved people. My practice has also been deeply rooted in the Vedic tradition, in Hinduism, what we would call Hinduism, but I often refer to it as Vedic practices, which include yoga, which include deity practice and worship as well. Um, Currently, I'm training to be an herbalist, as well. Um, and I put all of this out here not to brag or anything, right? But it's important for me to say that I have trained seriously for close to 25 years, right? And I am very accomplished, right? And again, this is not to brag, this is not right to do any of that, but it's just to say that I come from lineages. I am trained, embedded, initiated in lineages that I take seriously. Practice is something that I take seriously, right? I know that there are people on these internet streets, on these social media streets, who have less than a quarter of my training and time put into practice, who have much more access to resources, to numbers, and all of that, right? And these are many of the people, these spiritual leaders, these, self-help gurus, whatever you want to call them, who are often very silent about the issues that we're experiencing, the the systemic collapse, right? The systemic collapse, but also the reawakening of something really important, a more liberated future, right? This is where we're ultimately heading to. But right now, we're in the collapse, right? And the impact of that collapse in our communities, on ourselves as individuals as well. A lot of these folks are very silent about that, right? And I'm not here to talk about them or to call people out, but just to say, right, that I have done all of this work, this practice, not just for myself, not just to build a resume, not just to have bragging rights, right? Not just to feel good or to look good or to feel spiritual or to make spirituality, right? Like my like my profession. I didn't do any of that, for any of this, right? I did this because I wanted to help, right? And to be of help, I had to learn how to help myself. I had to learn how to become the medicine that I needed first, right? Because my most important ethic in this life is to be of help, is to be of benefit, right? I can't offer you the medicine that you need if I don't develop that medicine first for myself, right? And this is what inspires me, drives me to train, to learn, to study, right? And to teach and to offer and to get involved, right? And as I often say, if I don't do my work, I become work for others, right? And I take that seriously, right? And I'm deeply grateful for so many folks who have, have helped me to do that. People who have helped bring my attention to the things that I need to work on. And I take that really seriously as well, right? But as I am kind of like living into this day, living into this moment, one of the things that I am working with is my own anger, right? Because all these practices, all these traditions have really been medicine for the anger that I feel, the anger of being in this moment, being in a country, having to face and struggle against fascism, racism, ableism, queerphobia, fat phobia, all of it, right? The ways in which I have done this intense work to heal from intergenerational transhistorical trauma rooted within the experiences of my enslaved ancestors who were kidnapped and forced into chattel slavery, right? To come to this land that was taken and stolen from indigenous communities who themselves experienced intense genocide and transhistorical trauma. Actually, so much of what we understand about transhistorical trauma and historical trauma is rooted within the labor and the work of indigenous scholars here on this land as well, which I'm deeply grateful for, right? There's that anger, right? And that anger arises from really the heartbreak, the grief that I experienced, the deep disappointments, right? The deep disappointment that I have to deal with this shit, that we have to deal with this shit, that we can't just be free and happy and safe and resourced, that we have to fight, that we have to struggle, that we have to go without, that we have to sacrifice so much, including our lives, to get the basic resources that we need to be well, because we continually live in this world where there are so many people who have lost their capacity to empathize. And with the loss of empathy comes the loss of compassion. And when there's no compassion, there is only violence. Where there's no empathy, there is only violence. There's only harm, brutality, right? And what I struggle to do is to stay rooted in my empathy, to stay rooted in my compassion, right? And this is the medicine that I need and I use for myself to tend to the brokenheartedness in order to offer the space to my anger, my rage, right? And I guess what I really need to say is that we have a right to be pissed off. We have a right to be angry, right? We have a right to feel that. We have a right to embody that. Our anger is data, right? As Mother Audre Lorde taught us, our anger is full of data. That data is telling us actually what's wrong, what's off, and that data can actually show us how to respond to the anger. And that response must also be about tending to the heartbreak beneath the anger, right? That my heartbreak is just pointing me that my anger is just pointing me back to the heartbreak, and my heartbreak is pointing me to the anger. They're in this relationship, and I, in my practice, struggle to hold space for that. I wrote a whole book called Love and Rage, where I, talk about that and explore that, right? And just to lastly say, right, I think I just wanted to come on just to say, experience your anger, experience the heartbreak, but tend to the heartbreak, because for me, the heartbreak reminds me that we're all heartbroken. Even the people who are trying to annihilate us are heartbroken, right? And just holding that, right, just acknowledging that can actually help us to respond in a way that feels liberatory, that can actually help us to do this work of getting out into the world and disrupting suffering, disrupting systems, abolishing systems and institutions that prevent us from actually getting free, from actually healing, right? Instead of just continuing to assimilate, to accommodate these systems through our self-care, through our breath work, through our mindfulness, let's use our practice to get clear about what needs to be abolished, right? Because I'm about this liberation. I'm about this abolishment of the systems, because I want us to be in a liberated world. And if you are not using your practice, if you're not using your talents, if you're not just using anything for that goal of freedom, not just for yourself, but for all of us, then you're wasting so much, right? And I think that when we come to transition from this life, we will regret all the ways in which we didn't help, all the ways that we didn't try, all the ways that we gave up, right? I just think that compassion, but particularly love, is the only thing that matters. And if there's no love, then what the hell are we doing?